everyone, and welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. I'm surprised I sound this good. I am sick. For some reason, my body decided to get sick the day before the biggest severe weather threat of the year. So, if I sound a bit different, or at some point I start looking like I'm about to die from sneezing, you know why. It's because I'm sick. I had a feeling last night when we were live, something felt off, so just note that. But welcome everyone to another live stream here on the channel. Thank you all for joining in, and yeah, let's go ahead and dive right on into this. Just welcome everybody. I'm not going to be able to welcome you all because there's already over 100 people in here, so let's just dive right on into it, and hopefully everything is good. Oh, the time at the top left isn't good because we got to switch to weather front, but just ignore that for just a second here. There you go. We'll just switch to weather front right now. There you go. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about, a lot of stuff to go over, just like we did in yesterday's live stream. We've got a lot of newer data to go over, and some obviously some new upgrades that the SPC did, as you can see here, for our day 2 outlook for tomorrow. I'll just start. Actually, I'll go ahead and welcome some of you guys, the ones actively chatting here. Mesoscale, Pez, Misty, Catman, Sam, Cody, Haley, Lake, Livid, Electric, Xylon, Proxy, Caleb, Jefferson. Welcome everyone to the live stream. Glad to see you guys in there. It's just hard to go from the very top to the very bottom, so as y'all join in, I'll try to welcome you. V, welcome to the stream. Glad to see you back in here. This is definitely set up to be Central Indiana's worst day I've ever experienced. Okay, come on, bring it down a little bit. You're sounding like Twitter over here. Bring it down a little bit. We also have Rails in here. Easton. Let's see. We have Lynn. Glad to see you in here as well. Breezy, Weather Warrior, Weather Wisdom. Glad to have you guys in with us today. Haywood as well. So once again, we are going to be going over our very significant severe weather outbreak that is likely tomorrow. We do have a day 2 moderate risk for severe weather now. That is out here across Illinois and Indiana in that red level 4 out of 5 area. A little surprising we didn't get an upgrade in the tornado probabilities or the SIG threat at the latest afternoon update. SPC definitely on the more conservative side of things when you look at the overall model guidance, but that's never necessarily a bad thing, because the last thing you want to do is issue a high risk and then downgrade back to a moderate. So it's better to do vice versa, which is to wait till the last second to upgrade to a high risk. That way you are more certain on what's going to occur. So tomorrow, though, by far is definitely a high-end event. And I was talking in the Discord server earlier how tomorrow's ceiling is actually higher than a low-end high risk. I think tomorrow's ceiling is probably a 45 sig 2 tornado risk. Maybe even a 45 sig 3 tornado risk. However, that's the ceiling, right? That's if everything goes wrong for us. And really the main thing that would come down to if we see a high risk tomorrow is that morning convection. I do not think we will be seeing that type of probability tomorrow, so don't worry about that. That's the high end that I think tomorrow could be. I think that the SPC is going to debate about a high risk. I don't think a high risk is a guarantee. I think that is something that's going to need to be very much watched for, with observations on if we do need a high risk tomorrow. But either way, whether it stay moderate or high risk, it's going to be a long day tomorrow regardless. Let's see. I wanted to go up here real quick. Let's see. There was a question I saw that I wanted to say. Is this the worst risk you've had? If you're referring to the worst risk I've covered, definitely not. That would hands down go to March 14th, 2025. Almost said this year. March 14th, 2025 was the worst risk. And in terms of the highest risk I covered, that would actually go back to 2021 with the 45 sig hatched risk for tornadoes in Alabama back in 2021. Ads again? Okay, well, that should just be the beginning ad. There's no mid-roll ads. Those are actually off this time around. Waiting for the 18Z HRRR run to come out. Yes, we are going to watch that come out right now. Thank you for reminding me. That is actually already rendering. We're 25% through here. We're already into tomorrow morning. So we'll be able to see, we'll be able to definitely see tomorrow's entire event with this particular 18Z HRRR run. March 14th, 2025 and March 31st, 2023 are the worst outbreaks I've tracked. Yeah, those are your two. If you ask I think anybody, if you ask anybody what was the most widespread worst outbreak you've tracked in the last 3 to 5 years, that's probably the two dates that are going to stick out the most. The reason why I didn't say March 31st, 2023 as the worst is just simply because I wasn't as big of a weather enthusiast with that. I didn't realize how rare it was at the time. I do remember I made some Twitter posts on it, but I didn't realize how rare that was, having a dual high risk like that. And now that here it is 3 years later, I'm like, yeah, we're never gonna see that again. That was quite literally a once in a generation storm. It literally was. So once more, let's go ahead and go over this SPC outlook a little bit more in depth. I know we've already seen that SPC outlook here for that level 4 to 5 in the moderate. So this includes very populated areas like where Caleb is out here in Peoria. We also have Springfield. We also have Danville in here, Kankakee and Kankakee. You'll notice a lot of these areas, Bloomington, are very familiar to those who are frequent viewers of the chat, because we just had multiple strong to violent tornadoes track through this area. Not but just 5 days ago out here, we were under a moderate risk for tornadoes. So very similar location for that risk. Although this day in particular, being tomorrow, actually a higher ceiling than that particular day. We also have that enhanced risk level 3 out of 5 that extends into Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, back into Effingham, St. Louis, Columbia, Marshall, even way back down here into Clinton and El Dorado Springs in Missouri, back up into Davenport, Iowa, and splitting Chicago right down the middle there in northeastern Illinois. So very populated, enhanced risk as well. And then around that, we have a very large level 2 and another extremely large level 1 marginal risk for severe weather. But the primary area to watch for severe weather by far tomorrow is definitely going to be in that level 3 and that level 4 enhanced and moderate risks for severe weather. And then another area I would watch is for the potential of a cold core tornado threat back up here in Minnesota, southwest Wisconsin, and northeastern Iowa. Definitely could have a few tornadoes up there as well, being a little bit of a sneakier threat for severe weather. Northern Illinois and Indiana have been getting hammered this year for sure, and it's been like that really. In my opinion, I think like Illinois has been one of the most active states in the U.S. for the last 3 years for tornadoes. It's really, I know 2025 was crazy, 2026 is crazy, 2023 was crazy. So I don't know about what 2024 was in Illinois. I can't remember that year all very well for Illinois. But like the last 3 to 4 years, it's really been pretty much Illinois has been like the most active state for tornadoes in the last 3 or 4 years. I've seen people say that models handle MCS worse during the summertime. Is that actually true? I've never seen anyone explain why, and I'm genuinely curious. So there's two simple reasons for that. The main reason is because you can have the tiniest little bit of flow mixed in with instability, and you can get a very intense MCS. And another thing is models can't handle CAPE that well in June. So it's this pair of, you always end up with mesoscale flow in June, and also you always end up with a lot of instability. And that's all you need. You just need a little bit of flow and a lot of bit of instability, and you get a MCS. And so that's really all it comes down to, is you get good troughs in the US in June paired with good instability, and that's why June, July, and even August can be really, really favorable for MCSs and derechos. And that's why Even in the last few days for significant severe weather, the SPC has been very aggressive with those wind outlooks. Even for tomorrow, I think we could see a 45 sig 1 added here across Illinois and Indiana. And you can see a fairly aggressive wind outlook here. Many models don't show any sorts of a MCS pushing through tomorrow in any of these areas, but the SPC has a big 15% SIG 1 and 30% SIG 1 outlined there for damaging winds. They also do have a large hail threat, which me and Catman talked about this very briefly, more of like he talked about it to me. I listened about a hail threat here. That's a little bit more interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped the 30% SIG 1 hail, and I wouldn't be surprised if they extend it. The hail risk is a little bit more uncertain tomorrow, and is very much dependent on how clustered and discrete supercells are going to be. I just got an ad. Well, don't refresh. If you don't want an ad, don't refresh. That's your best opportunity. If you refresh or leave and rejoin stream, those are how... What the heck is this? Okay. Those are how you get ads. YouTube is tripping over here on my other screen. That's crazy. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive a little bit more in depth. Let me get a drink of water first. Like I said, I'm sick, so I'm probably going to be drinking a lot more water. I think, what is that? Des Plaines? Des Plaines, Illinois?
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot of those. We got a big flash flood type outbreak happening over the next 3 days because of that soon-to-be tropical storm. Let's see. That's going to be northwest of Chicago. You guys probably won't get anything too crazy up there.
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
I wouldn't expect anything too crazy up there. Just some gusty winds, a brief tornado, and your highest threat is actually probably hail. Upwards of about 1.5, 2 inches in diameter. I think tomorrow easily has the highest ceiling of the year, to be honest. I think so, and I don't even think it's close. I don't think it's even close between this outbreak tomorrow and any other event that we've had this year. Let's go and dive on into some model data. That's where a lot of the good stuff's at here. Let's go first to the HRRR18Z. See how that's rendering in so far. So right off the bat, it looks pretty similar. Not any huge differences between the two. Just very mesoscale, tiny little differences. Nothing that's too big of a change right now. We'll go back to the 12Z HRRR here and pull this on out. Morning convection will be everything tomorrow. How strong is the convection? How quick does it move out? How widespread is it? That is going to be what determines if we get a high risk tomorrow. If something like this were to occur, where your morning and afternoon convection is beginning to move out of your main risk area at about 1, 2 p.m. in central Illinois, I would have to imagine that we would be debating right on the edge of a high risk being needed. If it clears out faster, I would be shocked if we don't get a high risk. And if it stays a little bit longer, like the NAM3K has here, NAM3K has that lingering in until about 3 or 4 p.m., I think they would keep it moderate. So morning convection is really going to determine, honestly, your categorical outlook for tomorrow. So in this particular case, that morning convection is clearing out of your primary risk area, that being from central Illinois, south. I'm going to choose a different pin here. Main risk area being from north central Illinois back into southeast Iowa, northern Missouri, and all the way back down here into maybe southern Michigan, northern Indiana. You could still see some lingering convection there in northern Indiana about 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern here, but that clears out within an hour. And that is definitely going to be, that would definitely be a higher end scenario. In this particular case, man, I mean, you are looking at one of the worst tornado outbreaks that we've seen in this area in an entire 5 days. What did you think I was going to say? Literally, I'm not even kidding. Literally 5 days ago was an outbreak. Pretty bad. So, yeah, this would have multiple strong to intense tornadoes across northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and then maybe even a strong to intense tornado threat back down here from west of St. Louis all the way back through to Springfield, Illinois. So, in this particular instance, I think that this would warrant a high risk for severe weather, specifically from about northern Indiana through central Illinois, back down into west central Illinois, right in that vicinity there. That would be a fairly large high risk if this particular scenario were to occur, but you could see why if we go to your environment, man. I mean, you are insane. You are insane for this time of the year. Just a absurdly volatile environment out there in northwestern Indiana, east central Illinois, and a very very crazy environment there. But there's definitely some questions tomorrow. I'm not sold on a high risk for severe weather being issued. I'm not like 90% sure. I still think it's right about 50-50. I said that yesterday. I'm sticking with it today. I think it's really about 50-50. And it comes down to that morning convection. And even if that morning convection clears out quick, there still could be a little bit of concerns with too much wind shear and storm interactions that could inhibit tomorrow from being a widespread major tornado outbreak. Wind shear, right off the bat, is one thing that I will be watching very closely. The HRRR, the RAP model, and the NAM3K all agree in this particular area having too much wind shear. You're looking at too much wind shear being well exceeding 500 0 to 3 kilometer SRH, and you are at 500 to even upwards of 1,300, 1,400 shear here. So you are at too high of wind shear. What does that mean? Well, that means when those updrafts try to form and those updrafts try to sustain and really increase into the atmosphere, well, you might have too much wind shear that actually shears the top of those storms off, kind of like almost a hurricane. You know how hurricanes hate wind shear. It's a little similar in this case as well. When you get over wind shear. Now, wind shear is very, very good for thunderstorms, but again, too much of anything is typically going to be bad. You can have too much wind shear. You can have, I'd have to imagine there's an instance where you could have too much moisture and it causes overconvection. And same with too much CAPE, that could help push things into more of a linear mode. So too much of really anything is bad. And that's the same case here with this wind shear. As those updrafts try to form and go up into the atmosphere and attempt to sustain, maybe some could sustain briefly, but at some point, whether it be sooner or later, that wind shear is probably going to win the battle and your storms are going to be sheared off. And that's what the HRRR shows here in Illinois. You look at the environment and you think, okay, that's going to be a long-tracked, violent tornado threat for, maybe 4 or 5 hours across Illinois, Indiana. And the HRRR says no. The HRRR gives it about 2 hours worth of a good tornado threat, and then they die off at about 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern in western Indiana and eastern Illinois. So that is something that could help tomorrow underperform just a little bit. Just a little bit. We're not talking about a bust here. We're just talking about not exceeding a 15 sig 2 tornado risk, not needing a high risk tomorrow for severe weather. And if we go over to our dew points, that's another thing to watch, is not a sufficient amount of moisture. We're going to want those moisture dew points there to be in the low to mid 70s with the type of environment that we have tomorrow and the overall time of the year that it is, being that your temperatures are likely going to be into the mid 80s. So I think if we are at the low to mid 70s tomorrow for dew points, we will be good. If we are in the upper 60s, that's going to be pushing it. And if we're in the mid 60s, tomorrow's going to definitely flop. That would be a major failure point if your dew points are in the mid 60s and your temps are in the mid to upper 80s. But with that morning convection, you can see some of our risk area here. Your temperatures don't exceed but about 76, 75 degrees Fahrenheit here. And in that instance, moisture is plentiful. You've got an S tier amount of moisture available. You only have about 5 temperature degree dew point spread between most of these areas. And that would definitely be something in this particular instance that would be working towards a higher end tornado event. There's also another thing with the HRRR I'd like to point out here. Like I said, tomorrow's definitely not a one and done ordeal with a high risk. We're not looking at tomorrow is going to go high. There is a chance, but it's not a guarantee. Let's take a sounding here across northwestern Indiana and the 12Z HRRR. And this isn't the best example of it, but there is the opportunity for some stable air to be trapped above the surface. And in that case, that could choke off your updrafts. And in this particular instance, your lower level lapse rates are only 5.7. So updrafts may not be able to maintain as well. And this doesn't show a huge dry air issue, but we are looking at the potential for some dry air and stable air to be trapped just above the surface between the 750 and 950 millibar levels. Maybe we could get a little bit better of a sounding here if we go out another frame into southeastern Illinois. See if that shows. That's actually not that unfavorable an environment. That's actually pretty dang good right there. Let's go really early. Let's go back to 5 p.m. in northeastern Illinois, about 2 hours before the other sounding. Not particularly bad there either. You could see a tiny little bit of a warm nose, a little area of warm temperatures trapped above the atmosphere, but not that bad. Honestly, not that bad. Not seeing as big of an issue with that as what I was thinking. Let's go back even further to 5 p.m. in west central Illinois. Okay, well, there's a little bit of an elevated problem in west central Illinois, but this is very well removed from the best environment, so that's to be expected. But really doesn't matter too much. This is just where your storms are going to fire, and then they're going to move into that more favorable environment. So honestly, not that bad. Yeah, not that bad, honestly. That is actually considerably better than what I was thinking. I was thinking there would be a lot more issues in the mid to upper levels. Yep, StormNet just dropped. Yeah, StormNet just dropped. High risk for severe weather on StormNet from, wow, 3 forecasts per year. Golly. 3 forecasts per year right in this area. StormNet now has a well-sized high risk 5 out of 5 for severe weather. 5 out of 5 for severe weather on the new StormNet right in that vicinity. So that would be something. That would be something. And let me tell you, man, StormNet, I love StormNet. I love StormNet more than the HRRR, more than NATOcast, more than the NAM3K, more than the Euro model, more than any model you can mention. I love StormNet more. So if StormNet is screaming 5 out of 5, I'm going to continue to say that tomorrow still has right about a 50-50 shot, regardless of what it looks like on our real model data. I trust StormNet a bit more here. And mind you, that is a 80% chance for tornadoes in north central Indiana. An 80% chance. An 80% chance for tornadoes. Can you fathom that? An 80% chance for tornadoes in this area. That is high. To put in perspective, the SPC only goes to 60. And a 60% for them that's as high as it gets. I mean, really, you can't have more confidence with that. Now, obviously, both of these use different scales, but that 80% for StormNet, that is astronomically high. The only other time I think it's been that high was March 15th last year. Across southern Mississippi into central Alabama. And that was a high risk for severe weather. So we are looking at probably a high risk caliber event tomorrow. Pending morning convection, I'm pretty confident. Seeing that, I'm more confident than not. I would say maybe a little bit higher now. I'd say probably a 60-40 for a high risk. I'd put that up. I think there's a better chance that tomorrow goes high risk than it stays moderate at this point. Let's take a look at the new 18Z HRRR, see what that has. Ooh. Right off the bat, the first thing I noticed is it's a lot sharper. You've got a lot sharper of a front, and that's really good for supercells to ride. Holy crap. Just give me a full line of supercells. Give me a repeat of March 31st, 2023 over here. Just give me a full line of supercells in Illinois. Wow. Now, the environment is a little bit of a downtrend, but why is that? That could be the tiniest little thing. That could be the tiniest little thing, and it would probably take me an hour just to figure out why that environment downtrended on Supercell Composite. But man, yeah, and that would that highest risk would definitely be right in that vicinity there. So, wow. I would say that's more impressive.
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
I would say that's more impressive than the 12Z, and you may be saying, why? Well, that's because there's more convection. More convection, and Catman was talking about how if these storms are very discrete and they are smaller updrafts and more spread out, that'd be a better
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
that'd be a better risk for the upper level wind shear to tear these storms apart because there's too much wind shear. But if you could get some rain showers around supercells and some cell mergers that could help favor those cell mergers, then supercells could thrive for a lot longer.
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
Yeah, those are going to be coming in all day. So you know what? I'm actually going to disable that. That way we don't get interrupted. Flash flood warnings are important. So if you're in any flash flood warning, seek higher ground. But we're going to be getting so many of them today. I can't help y'all with the ads. I'm sorry, man. I wish the only other way for me to do it is to turn off my monetization. And to be honest with you, I don't want to do that. I don't want to fully turn off monetization. Just because then that takes away any option. Nobody will be able to donate. Nobody will be able to do anything with monetization, and that take away memberships too. And I don't want to do that. Okay. I did something. See if that helps. I turned it off and then on again. Hey, don't laugh at me. It works, okay? It works. My PC, when it was having big troubles, all I did was unplug it, plug it back in, and it fixed the whole system. And it's still alive 3 years later. So, turn it off and back on again. I think I told Lucky this. It is the most overpowered method to anything. TV's not working. Off and on. Ads are starting to go and you don't want them to go. Off and on. PC's broken. Off and on. Monitors flashing. Off and on. Unplug it. Plug it back in. It's overpowered, man. It's very underrated. Toaster's toasting too much. Unplug it. Plug it back in. It works so much, I'm telling you. Actually, I just did it the other day with the lawnmower. The lawnmower. We thought our battery was dying, and what did we do? We unplugged it and then plugged it back in. Now, obviously, it's a bit more difficult to do that. It's not necessarily a plug for a battery, more of unscrewed it, screwed it back on. Wi-Fi router too, yep. Ethernet cables, unplug it, plug it back in. Heart not working, unplug it, plug it back in. That's a little bit more difficult to get to, I won't lie. You might struggle unplugging your heart and plugging it back in. What about morning convection here? You can see the 18Z. It's not a huge difference there. There definitely is some difference, but not a huge difference between the run. Definitely some differences with your morning convection and the exact placement of that, but you can see it's generally the same outcome. I do think the 18Z is a little bit more north. Just a tad bit more north, but it really didn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things because the instability is still at like the same area. So it really didn't matter that much. It really didn't. So hopefully that fixed the ads. If you guys keep getting ads, if you keep getting ads when you are just watching the stream, not when you first tune in or when you refresh, but when you're just watching the stream and you randomly get an ad after like 5 to 10 minutes of watching, let me know. Hopefully that fixed it. I'm in Bloomington, Indiana. We might be cooked. You might be cooked. I'm not gonna lie, you might be cooked. No, I'm just kidding. You'll get through it, just like you do with every other event. The only time where these big weather outbreaks become a huge problem is when you're not paying attention. When you are outside without any devices to get your watches and warnings, and you're away from the TV and not listening to your meteorologist, and you're not looking at the SPC site, that is when it becomes a problem. But if you're weather aware, your chances of survival through a tornado event go up absurdly high. Like it is it is going to be very difficult for you to be very difficult for you to be in an extremely life-threatening situation if you are hyper weather aware and have taken the right precautions. You know, if you have a basement or a storm shelter, and you get in that safe spot right as that warning is issued, there goes your chance of survival right through the roof. So if you're paying attention, you'll survive. I mean, you really will. There is very few cases where if you're in your safe spot, can you actually, a tornado could be intense enough to be catastrophic to you. So, and tomorrow there is the chance for that type of tornado being a violent EF4 plus tornado. It's not entirely impossible we see a EF4 plus tornado tomorrow across this area. So that's why you want to be hyper weather aware, and you want to be staying close to those local media outlets and your NWS and the SPC. But I will say, if you are in Bloomington, you said Bloomington's cooked. I could tell you this, the most favorable environment tomorrow is probably going to be in northern Indiana, central Illinois, and that will stay just to your north. I think that is where our tornado risk is going to be the absolute highest tomorrow. I do think Bloomington will have a chance for a strong tornado, but for a violent tornado, no. I think that is our primary corridor for the potential of EF3 plus tornadoes tomorrow. And I'm curious, actually, if that aligns. Oh, see, very close. Very, very close to the SPC outlook and their 15 Sig 2 tour. Very, very close. So this is the new HRRR, and I just want to see the updraft tracks. Now, you may look at this and think, oh yeah, big time tour potential up here in South Bend. You know, that could be a violent tornado threat right there. But watch this. We take a look at your supercell composite, and it doesn't even touch up there. So you know what that is? That is a hailer. That's a hailer. Not a tour threat. That's hail. This might be a good tour threat. This might be a good tour threat. This is probably all a tour threat in here. So most of this stuff I'd have to imagine is a tour threat, whereas this stuff up here is hail and maybe wind. You think my area will see anything? I'm in the yellow. Unfortunately, V, I do. I do think you will be under a pretty good risk for tornadoes. We'll have to see. Tomorrow is not the day where everybody gets a tornado. It's not like a QLCS where we get a huge line of tornadoes. Tomorrow is probably going to be a clustered to semi-discrete mode, which means not everybody's going to see a tornado, but the tornadoes that do drop are probably going to be strong to violent. That is my father calling me. It's probably nothing important. I'll text him. Let me text him right now. Just in case. Yeah. I don't want him to be worried. Dear Chisholm, okay, buddy, come on. Let's go to the WRAP 15Z model run here. Would you change anything on the SPC outlook? For the day 2 outlook, I would change a few little things. What I would do, the two biggest things, is I would expand the 10 Sig tour further into Indiana and Ohio. And I would expand the 15% Sig tour into Ohio. And I would add probably a Sig 3. I would add probably a Sig 3 tornado risk right across central Illinois into north central Indiana. I would change 3 things with the tour risk, and it's all expansion except for that addition of a SIG 3 tour risk. That is what I would do. Just expand in the risk. Let me go to... Let's see. This is the HREF. For those weather enthusiasts, you probably know what I'm about to look at. Here's the HREF. Let's go to 4-hour tornado probabilities for tomorrow. And there you go, at 10 a.m. for some reason. Talked about this in the Discord server earlier. For some reason, it's actually got a 60% tour for Elevated Slop Fest at 10 a.m. in the morning. I don't know about that. 50% tour west of Chicago. That I agree with more. There you go. 50% tour risk in East Central Indiana. I agree with. This is a lot of wrong. This is overdone in every way possible. Why is there a moderate for tour in eastern Kansas? And why is there a high risk for tour in southeastern Iowa? This thing is a whole lot of wrong. Let's go to the wind probability. Okay. A high risk for wind, 75 percentile in Chicago. Sure. We'll run with it. Let me guess. Hail's going to be the same. Oh, close. 50% hail risk. So pretty much this is just like the weather weenie dream right here. That's what this is. This is the perfect I need likes on Twitter model run. That's what that is. So I don't really trust that at all. I do think the placement of that is not horrible for the tour prob. That second, third max tour prob, this. I don't think that's horrible. I don't fully disagree with that. But the other one back towards Chicago, no. And the other one at 10 a.m. in Iowa, no. But that third one, I don't disagree with that too much towards Peoria, back towards Lafayette. You can see that 10% goes up towards almost South Bend as well. But that's a pretty rough model run that I don't trust. And what am I looking at? What is this? Oh, that's significant tornado parameter for the FV3 5K here. What's interesting with this is it keeps convection going throughout much of the afternoon. So your main risk is actually shifted entirely south. And that's an outlier. It's what we like to call an outlier. It's not a full outlier. There is one other model run that is similar to this, and that's the NAM. But really, these two are out on a limb. These two are out on a limb. The rest, the HRRR, the RFSA, the NSSL RN, the NSSL HT, if it went out that far, I'm sure it would be in agreement, but for some reason, it chose the wrong model. And there you go. It's in agreement with the HRRR. What else we got? The RAP. For some reason, it chose the wrong model again. All of these are in agreement with the HRRR and more towards a higher end day. There's only 2 model runs, and then you could throw the other ones in there too using instability. The others, like, the NAM is obviously not going to be in agreement, but the GFS is further to the north. The Euro is further to the north. The Germans further to the north. It's all further to the north on all these model runs. For some reason, the Canadian is not available. I'm not sure why. But they're all available. or they're all further to the north there. This is the REFS ensemble, which is going to be replacing I believe, 2 ensembles. And that's what that shows. That's your mean instability there. And I want to draw that out. We're going to draw out the yellow for 4 p.m. We'll go back to the RFSA. Yeah, very close. Very close. Very similar. Very, very similar. There's actually a newer ensemble available, and that is more in line with the RFSA. What else do we have here? Here's different members. Oh my word, here's member 2. This is member 2, which has almost no morning convection. And there's a member 1 here. Member 1 is the one that has a lot of morning convection. Member 3, which has a little bit of morning convection, a realistic scenario. Member 4. And then we also have member 5, which is a little laggy. And member 5 is not going to happen. So those are your 5 members there. And that's your mean composite. So you could see very high confidence in morning convection and afternoon convection in that area. We'll have to see how far south or north that goes. And then pretty high confidence in a bit of a messier mode further off to the north into northern Indiana, Michigan, in that area. And then a bit better confidence in more discrete activity or more clustered activity to the south. There's your dew point mean, which again we talked about low 70s being needed. And you're in the upper 60s. I don't quite know. That would probably be sufficient. It depends on your temperatures. If your temperatures get up to the 80s, your dew points need to be in the 70s. If your temperatures are in the low 70s, your dew points need to be in the mid 60s. So it depends on how high those temps go. The higher the temps, the higher the dews are needed. The lower the temps, the lower the dews are needed. However, you still want dew points of at least minimum 60 to 65. 60 to 65 is the lowest you want your dew points to go. On a day like today, or a day like tomorrow rather, I would say the lowest is 65. Somewhere between 65 and 75 would be great for tomorrow. That is your ensembles there. Let's see. There's your NAM 3K, which again is an outlier, but even in that outlier scenario, we still get a huge tornado threat in northwest Indiana. Southern Wisconsin gets tornadoes tomorrow. Southern Wisconsin, there is a slim chance for two rounds that could bring a brief tornado threat. Your first round, probably right in the afternoon, probably about 5 p.m. or so, and then maybe another round a little bit later towards 8 p.m. You get 2 rounds. You get your first round right in here, which it looks like on this model run, Southern Wisconsin not under that big of a gun for tornadoes. And then your second round is your cold core threat with that environment. So I wouldn't rule out a brief tornado somewhere in central or southern Wisconsin tomorrow. But it's definitely not as high as Illinois and Indiana. We think about the cold core setup in Iowa and Minnesota. Depends how messy it's going to end up being, but I do think the SPC is going to go 5%. I do think we should have a 5% tour from west of the Twin Cities into northeastern Iowa into western Wisconsin. I do think we'll end up with a 5% tour in that area for that cold core setup. And I think it's pretty impressive. I think we could see a few tornadoes. I think we'll see a few tours tomorrow. I wouldn't completely rule out a strong tour up there, but it's very conditional. But it wouldn't surprise me if we get a few tornadoes, maybe even one strong in southeast Minnesota tomorrow. That's a little sneaky threat that many chasers aren't gonna see. If you want to actually see your tornadoes, you'd probably have a better bet going in Minnesota than down here in Illinois and Indiana. Because Illinois and Indiana, the reason why tomorrow is going to be so dangerous is because these things, like I tweeted earlier today, they're going to be moving at 70 miles per hour. So you're going to have rain-wrapped, strong to violent tornadoes moving at 70 miles per hour across Illinois and Indiana. So these things are going to be very, very much invisible and shrouded in rain, and probably large tornadoes as well. And again, probably strong to violent, and moving at 70 miles an hour. So very, very, a very dangerous setup, not only for people who live in Illinois and Indiana, but also for storm chasers to chase. And that's why tomorrow, that's another thing that can contribute to tomorrow's verification of a high risk. If you get long track tornadoes, that's going to help verify a high risk. If you get a long track strong to violent tornado, that will help verify a high risk a lot better than multiple weak tours. Just a quick instance of that, a quick example of that. Let's bring it back to a day that we did compare tomorrow to, just for the general environment and statistics, being March 15th. March 15th here in the Deep South. What did we have? We had multiple brief, weak, and a few strong tornadoes in this area. But ultimately, what made this high risk almost perform, it definitely was an underperformance, but what made it almost perform was the violent EF4 long track tour in southern Mississippi. And look at the difference. Look at the difference between the tornadoes up here. You just have a few reports for each one, and then you just have a conga line of tornado damage and reports in southeast Mississippi with that EF4. And that's what helped almost verify the March 15th high risk. In my personal opinion, I don't think it was full-on verification, but that long track tour definitely helped it almost verify. Definitely helped it almost verify. And of course, it's a completely different setup. We're not looking at the Deep South, a Deep South tour threat tomorrow. It's a fully different setup. Man, look at that defluence aloft right there. No kidding on why that was a high risk. Let's go to the RAP model here. Actually, no. Let's go to the HRRR 18Z. And let's go to the upper air 500 millibar winds. There's your trough. There is your trough for tomorrow. And man, talk about a bowling ball slingshot trough. What are the odds we get a single strike of lightning tomorrow? 99.9%. Nothing in weather is 100%. So the highest you could go with anything is 99.9%. That would be the chance of a single strike of lightning tomorrow. But yeah, this trough is very, very favorable for a tornado outbreak. Very, very favorable for a tornado outbreak. Definitely has a little bit of kinks to it that that could help it underperform a little bit if you were to go high risk. If the SPC were to go high risk, but overall a very favorable trough, very favorable bowling ball trough. Very, very favorable. Is it 99.9 recurring, technically 100%? If you round up, yeah, but that still leaves a 0.1% chance that it doesn't happen. How far east do you think the enhanced will go? I think that the enhanced will be expanded a little bit, tiny bit to the north and to the east. And I do think that moderate will be expanded more to the north and to the east. And probably going to get either a SIG 3 tour or a high risk added in the middle of it. What about today? Today, we do have a tornado risk today. We've got a 5% tornado risk across Indiana and Michigan, but the SPC has actually not even issued a severe thunderstorm watch. It looks like this is actually actively busting. Unless that event hasn't started yet. Is this the line or is this a line? Let's actually take a look. Let's see. Let's go back here. Looks like that second line's the line, so it's actually not a bust yet. The event hasn't even started. Event starts at about 5, 6 p.m., right in that vicinity. And I definitely wouldn't rule out a tornado or two. Wouldn't rule out a tornado or two. But the environment downtrended quickly compared to what this looked like 3 days ago. This environment really, really downtrended. Think there is any chance the warm front moves further north than expected? Same with ingredients? Yeah. Definitely. However, there's also an equal chance that it moves a little further south than expected. So it could go either way. Why do we have a slight risk in Iowa today? Is it for tomorrow's morning convection? Let's see. Yep, sure is. It's for the 7 to 8 a.m. morning convection in Iowa, if that is where your slight risk is. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That's what it's for. Is there any chance we don't see a single tornado tomorrow? There is a chance. That chance, though, not particularly high. There's always a chance for a full-blown bust. It's just not often that it actually happens. North, do you mean into Wisconsin? It would be probably into northern Illinois. Far southern Wisconsin would be as far north as it gets. The furthest north it gets, if everything goes wrong, wrong for us, right for the environment, the furthest north that's going to get is probably far northern Wisconsin. There's your main warm front. Far northern Wisconsin into, or rather, my bad, far northern Illinois, far southern Wisconsin. But again, there's also an equal chance that it goes further south too. So that's kind of like you kind of look at that like the average. That's the most likely scenario right now, is your warm front to be somewhere right around there. Less likely is it for it to be up here, and less likely is it for to be down here too. So you kind of have a higher end, less likely scenario, your middle ground scenario, and your lower end, less likely scenario. How would that happen? It would just simply be morning convection being further to the north. That's it. Wherever the morning convection is. If the morning convection's north, the warm front's going north further. If the morning convection is further south, the warm front's going further south. Gillette near Chicago, I think. Hopefully it'll be okay. I believe we tracked that area last time. Yeah. On June 11th, we had a supercell that produced a violent tornado or two heading in that vicinity, and it ended up dying before it went into Gillette. Unfortunately, they are on the southern side of Chicago, which is actually the highest risk for severe weather in Chicago. The further south you are of Chicago, the higher risk you go. So if you're on like the southwest side of the Chicago County, you're in the highest risk. And this is Gillette, so this is actually outside of Chicago city limits here, outside of county limits as well. And so that is right on the edge of that very high-end Tor threat, and they are inside that Sig 2 tornado risk, which means EF3 plus tornadoes possible. Would you say that our day 2 outlook is conservative? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with it. It's definitely pretty good. It's not it's not the it's not extremely conservative. I saw someone go 10% Sig 2. So it's not as conservative as it could be, but it's on the more conservative side of things compared to what we're seeing with model data and what I'm actively seeing on models. So I would say it is more on the conservative side, yeah. What time frame tomorrow will this start moving through central Illinois? You're gonna have multiple rounds. You'll have multiple rounds for severe weather. If we look at this here, so we'll get a round tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, right around probably 10 p.m. You'll be getting a round of heavy rain, and don't worry about this too much. There could be some small hail, 1 inch in diameter, upwards of large hail, which is 1 inch in diameter. So up to 1 inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds with that. There is really no tornado risk with this. Yeah, pretty much no tornado risk. So 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1 inch hail possible with that, and very heavy rain, some lightning as well. But the main event will be later on in the afternoon, closer to 4 p.m., 3 to 4 p.m. Did I say 10 p.m.? I meant 10 a.m. 10 a.m. tomorrow morning is that first round, and then 4 p.m. is the main secondary round. So you get one sloppier round and then one big severe round. What time are you going live tomorrow? Whenever I'm able to. Hopefully I feel the same as today or a little better. I don't feel too bad right now. I'm in 3 out of 5, 10% Sig 2 Tor threat, 30 Sig 1 wind, and 15 Sig 1 hail. Pretty high probabilities. Sure is. No legacy, I'm sick. I am sick. Is there going to be a tornado in northern Illinois? Depends on what you define as northern Illinois. If you mean like Rockford and Round Lake Beach, most likely not. But if you mean like towards Davenport or Ottawa or Morris, probably. So it depends on your definition of, central, southern, and northern Illinois, where you divide that up at. There's your categorical risk. We're most likely to see tornadoes in the red and orange area, which definitely does include some portion of northern Illinois. Odds of a high risk tomorrow, my opinion, 60-40. I think there's a 60% chance tomorrow goes high. At least that's what my opinion is. But yeah, if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, share the stream with your family, friends, social media. It's greatly appreciated. And if you are new, consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all, so you know when I go live tomorrow. By the way, earlier today, the SBC did an urgent update to expand the moderate. at 2:27 p.m. Eastern. They did a third afternoon outlook update, and they actually did expand the moderate to the southeast. Believe it or not. It went fairly unnoticed, but they did. It was probably the world's tiniest expansion. I'm going to go look at it to see how small it was. I don't believe this actually shows that update. But they did expand it to the southeast. I don't know if this was the first afternoon update or the second one. But you can see here, at some point they did expand that moderate to the south. Tiniest little expansion. And we can actually black that out. That way you can see it a little bit better. See that orange 15% there? Definitely a good expansion south. But I don't know if that was at the afternoon or the second afternoon update. Regardless, either way, it was expanded to the south. Making room for the high risk? Sure. Sure. They also at some point expanded that Tor risk a little bit further north into Illinois as well. See a little expansion further north. They'll go extreme risk. I doubt it. I doubt they'll go extreme risk. No particular reason. Oh, the second afternoon update was to fix the Tor props for the Gulf Coast. They forgot to add it initially. Oh, yeah. That's the main outlook right there, but they did. But no, the second update definitely had a small expansion of that moderate. I just don't have a good way to... The third update, rather. Second afternoon update, third update of the day. Definitely did expand that moderate. I just don't have a good side-by-side comparison. College of DuPage isn't going to show it because that only shows 2 updates. Yeah, College of DuPage, there it's not going to show it. This is the first afternoon. It shows the morning update and the afternoon update. So there's your morning update right there. Boom. And then there's your afternoon update, and it doesn't show that second one. That second one happened. There's the first one, and there's the second one. And you can see it doesn't show it. And if we go to the Tor probs, I wonder if it shows the Tor probs changing. That's how we'll know. See? It doesn't even have the 2% Tor in Louisiana or Mississippi that's actually there. So there's proof that this is actually an outdated outlook. It's actually an outdated outlook on College of DuPage. This is your newest one. I wish I got a screenshot of the moderate risk beforehand on the first afternoon update. Let's see here. Will the moderate expand to the north? There's a small chance. There's a small chance. The area I'd see that expanding to the north would be like right in here. It comes down to morning convection. And I do think the enhance can be bumped into Ohio, more into Ohio. I don't know about far eastern Ohio, but definitely I think it could be bumped till somewhere around Columbus. But I don't think it will be all the way out to like Cleveland or Youngstown. You think a SIG 3 will be introduced? I have no idea. It could be a 15% SIG 3, it could be a 30% SIG 2, a 30% SIG 3, or they could keep it at a 15% SIG 2. I'm not 100% sure which one's more likely. A high risk with a 60, not a 60, a high risk with a SIG 2, or just a SIG 3 contour, whether it be 15% or 30% SIG 3. Out of one for mine. Did you send me the Outlook? You didn't send me the Outlook. I'm disappointed in you. What's up with that? There's a new severe watch. They opted for a severe watch today, despite the 5% tour. Shows you not a whole lot of confidence in a tour threat today. A good tour threat. I like how the full watch was there for just a second, and now they just took another bite out of it. Keeps getting a bite taken out of it every scan here. No, they've never issued an official SIG 3 in the last 3 months that this Outlook has been out for. The new Outlook. But I do think they had a SIG 3 for the experimental testing of it on March 15th, 2025. Y'all know the world won't end if they issue a high or keep it moderate. Yeah. Who said the world's going to end? Could Sigwin move into East Ohio? Let's see. Uh, it might move a little bit. Yeah. Depends on the timing of storms. The later it takes for storms to fire, the less chance for them to push that sig wind risk. Thank goodness that's not copyrighted. Accidentally clicked a bookmarked tab. Right now, I don't think they'll push it into far eastern Ohio, but it's possible. Chad is taking SIG 3 out of context. They're saying SIG 3 is only for historic outbreaks, even though it's not. Yeah, SIG 3 is for notable violent tornado potential. Most tornadoes inside of a SIG 3 are going to be EF2 to EF5. So when you start getting more confidence that there's going to be more strong tornadoes than weak ones, and we're most likely going to see a few violent tornadoes, that's when you go SIG 3. So it's definitely not, a SIG 3 is not going to happen on every single risk that has a chance for violent tornadoes. No. That's why it's so difficult to know which one they're going to go for. It's very difficult. Can you show me your Outlook? I'm not sure how to post photos in the thing you showed me, in the thing we use. One of the area forecast discussions legit says wow. Says the forecasted helicity values will be pretty much off the charts at 500 to 600 meters squared second squared effective layer. STP values of 10 to 11. Wow. That's funny. That's a funny one right there. Here's the AFD from, I believe, was Chicago. Let's see here. There's variance and guidance with just how far north the effective boundary will get, but somewhere generally in the vicinity of the I-80 corridor is where a majority of the models show it reaching its peak latitude, NRCWA. To the south of this boundary, the environment looks similar to what is often seen in cool season major tornado outbreaks in the southeastern United States. Forecast photographs are literally off the chart with 0 to 1 environmental SRH of over or around 500 meters squared second squared. This sort of extreme lower level shear, coupled with low LCLs and strong 0 to 3 kilometer cape, fast storm motion, and favorable downstream environment, is a classic setup for long tracked, strong to violent tornadoes. And there is your full severe watch, by the way. That's the full thing. Ooh, Catman gave me his outlook. Dang! Bro almost went to the max right there. That's definitely on the very aggressive side of things, Catman. Considering this is the same person who just told me that that wind shear will shear apart storms. We also do have the risk for severe weather on day 3. This outlook just got updated. A lot of uncertainty. A lot of uncertainty is present here. They've kept a slight risk so far, but there's a lot of uncertainty. You could see that the marginal compared to the slight is huge. Very, very large marginal level 1 out of 5, and a smaller level 2 out of 5 slight risk for Thursday. But yeah, once more, if you're just tuning in here, tomorrow we have a moderate risk, level 4 out of 5 for severe weather centered over Illinois and northwestern Indiana. Large level 3 enhanced risk in the orange surrounding that. Large level 2 slight risk in the yellow surrounding that. And a very large level 1 out of 5 marginal risk surrounding that. So overall, big time severe weather outbreak is expected tomorrow with a multiple long tracked strong to intense tornadoes expected, as well as 2.5-inch hail and 80-mile-an-hour winds are all expected out of severe storms tomorrow. There's also the opportunity for up to 3-inch hail, up to 90-mile-an-hour winds, and up to a violent tornado or 2, especially across that red moderate risk 4 out of 5 contoured area there. Of course, there is a pretty good opportunity for categorical risk upgrade tomorrow to a high risk 5 out of 5. That'd be a pink shaded color. That would be a 30% SIG 2 or greater tornado risk. And right now we're at a 15% SIG 2. Just a friendly reminder, a 15% SIG 3 tornado risk is a moderate risk and not a high risk. So if we do get a 15% SIG 3, that is not a categorical risk upgrade. That would still be a moderate risk for severe weather for tomorrow. As for the wind threat could also be upgraded to a 45 SIG 1. That wouldn't surprise me. It's already a 30 SIG 1. But I wouldn't be shocked if we get a 45% SIG 1. And the hail threat, I think the hail threat will stay the same. They may expand that 30% to the east for more discrete storms to potentially fire. But I think that hail threat will remain at 30% SIG 1. Yeah, I think the most likely outlook is probably going to be a 30% SIG 2. I agree with that. That's probably the most likely Tor outlook tomorrow. Do you think Jackson Center, Ohio gets in the moderate? I don't think anyone in Ohio gets into the moderate. I don't think we'll get a moderate into Western Ohio. If we do, it would be the first 3 to 4 counties in Western Ohio. I think you'll be put into the enhanced, but I don't think you'll be put into the moderate. Jolette is not in the red. You are in the orange 3 out of 5. However, you are in the SIG 2 tornado risk. So what that means is you're not in the highest confidence for intense tornadoes, but you still do have a chance for EF3 plus tornadoes in that SIG 2 area. 30% SIG 2 is high risk, yes. Should I be... Oh, could tomorrow be concerning for Northwest Chicago suburbs? It's tricky. Somewhere right around Chicago is where our cutoff for tornadoes will be. So I would definitely be hyper weather aware in Chicago. Not just yet necessarily concerned for Chicago. But yeah, that cutoff is going to be right near Chicago with that highest risk for severe weather tomorrow. So if you live on the northwest side, like closer to Austin or maybe just north of Austin, very, very close. Look at PTC 1. Looks like it's spinning. Yeah, that's a potential tropical cyclone 1 right there. Located over southeast Texas, the northwestern Gulf. Likely to become a tropical storm tomorrow morning and make landfall probably during our severe weather coverage, assuming I don't feel horrible across southeast Texas and southwestern Louisiana. And as for the flooding is a ginormous concern. Today, level 3 out of 4, moderate risk for flooding. Tomorrow, level 3 out of 4, moderate risk for flooding. And then Thursday, I think, could be upgraded to a 4 out of 4, high risk for flooding, but at the moment it remains at a 3 out of 4, moderate risk for flooding. And then we continue with a slight risk into Georgia and the Carolinas. And then on day 5, the slight shifts on Saturday into the northern plains. As for rainfall totals, we could go over to our model data. And we could go to our national blend of models to give you a rough estimate of the most likely rainfall totals through Saturday afternoon. And you could see many areas are likely to see 2 inches or greater of rainfall. And I think somewhere we will have a high risk for Thursday, as much of that area in the moderate ends up with 4+ inches of rainfall. And there is actually the chance for some isolated areas upwards of 12 to 16 inches of rainfall, depending on how much our tropical storm can intensify and train over the same areas. If we take a look at that, here's the GEFS, that's the GFS ensemble, similar scenario with a large area of 4+ inches of rainfall, or 2.5+ inches of rainfall. Here's the Euro ensembles, and that has an even more widespread swath of 4+ inches of rainfall. And then here's a deterministic model run on the GFS, and you can see that has some isolated amounts, almost up to 10 inches of rainfall there, actually up to 10 inches of rainfall on Thursday through Saturday. And another deterministic model run right here, being the European model run, also has some isolated areas upwards of 8 inches of rainfall. So it looks like probably 12 inches of rain is the max we get out of this. I don't think we'll see anything higher than 12 inches of rain over the next few days. You could then argue 10% SIG 3 should be moderate. No, because the SIG 3 can also be for conditional. If you have a 10% SIG 3, what that means is tornadoes are likely, and there's a conditional risk that we see a violent tornado. So an example of that could be an outflow boundary that is set up across southern Oklahoma with a volatile environment, and storms, some models show supercells firing there, others don't. So if supercells fire, we're likely to see a few tornadoes, a few strong, and if one of those supercells latches to the outflow boundary, it could be violent. That'd be a perfect example of an enhanced risk SIG 3. A 15% SIG 3 would be like tomorrow. Tomorrow is a pretty good example of a 15 SIG 3, where multiple strong to intense tornadoes are likely, and the environment is still pretty high end. So if one of those get good cell mergers, stay discrete for pretty long, they could end up producing a violent tornado. I don't think we'll see a 30 SIG 3 tomorrow. You never know. But I wouldn't be surprised if the SPC keeps it moderate at 15 SIG 3, or if they go high risk at 30% SIG 2. What would keep me surprised, this would surprise me, if they keep it 15 SIG 2 for Tor, that would surprise me, or if they upgrade it to 30% SIG 3, that will surprise me. How do you forecast low precipitation hook echoes like Thursday? Thursday was a prime example of what shouldn't have happened. The profile was very favorable for high precipitation, non-photogenic wedge tornadoes, and we ended up with three photogenic wedge large tornadoes. But typically what you look for is what is it? I'd have to think, but I know that tomorrow's not favorable for it from what I've seen in the community. I'm trying to think back to Thursday on what the big factor was. Venting. Good 300 millibar flow above your supercells. Good 300 millibar flow above your supercells can sometimes prevent low precipitation supercells, or rather prevent very high precipitation supercells. It allows for better venting, which allows for precipitation to escape the primary supercell. So think of it this way. You have a supercell, right? Just like this, big hook echo, big primary base of the supercell is like right in here, right? Where all the rain is. If you have good venting, the 300 millibar wind speeds can help push all that precipitation in the hook echo back into the main base of the supercell. And that's why you get a big hail core. If you don't have good venting, all that precipitation can get trapped in here in the hook echo, and sometimes end up with either rain wrap tornadoes or you can actually end up choking off any type of tornado threat because they're so high precipitation. And that is probably one of the primary reasons why we didn't get a huge tornado outbreak in western Illinois on June 11th, because we didn't have great venting. And this is the 300 millibar height map on the HRRR. And this is great venting. You have really good venting here. You have 80 to 100 knot venting across the main risk area, with defluence and divergence here, very widespread aloft. That's great venting. However, even with that great venting, it looks like our mode tomorrow might be a bit messier. We might have too many storms fire tomorrow, and that could help promote a messier mode and more high precipitation storms. So it's a mix. Two of the primary things: storm mode, 300 millibars. Those are the two big things. So it's kind of perfect tomorrow because you have venting that can help prevent your high precipitation mode, but then you have extra storms that can also help encourage those storms to sustain, to where too much venting probably won't be an issue. But we could have too much mid-level wind shear that helps rip apart the storms. If we have too high of 0 to 3 kilometer SRH. So 30% Sig 1 Tor is enhanced. Yeah. You may be saying, that sounds insane. Well, think about it. Think about it. What is worse? What is worse? 3 EF0 tornadoes or 1 EF4 tornado? What would be worse? A few homes lose their shingles, or a bunch of homes end up getting destroyed. See how crazy of a difference that is? You go from a non-impactful event to, oh my goodness. So that's why. It's not even remotely close. The difference between 3 EF0s and an EF4 is huge. So that's why a 30% Sig 1 Tor is pretty much... that would still be a concern, though, because you're still looking at multiple EF2 tornadoes in that instance. A 30% Sig 1 would definitely still be multiple EF0 to EF2 tornadoes. But when you jump up to like a 30% Sig 3, then you're looking at multiple intense to multiple violent long track tornadoes. And that's just on a complete and different another level. %Sig 1, I wouldn't say would be common during tropical landfalls, because I feel like 30% non-Sig would be the most common during that. I'm not really sure an exact case where you would need a 30% Sig 1. The only case I could think of is during Milton. Only Milton. That's the only case where I could think of a 30% Sig 1 Tor would be needed. But in most scenarios, no. Yeah, actually, Weather Warrior does have a point there. A derecho as well, actually. That's actually a very, very good point right there. Derecho very well could warrant a 30% Sig 1 as well. Instant thought is December 15th, 2021. What about a day like December 16th, 202Q? Yeah, you're talking about the day I just said. Do you see the moderate moving south closer to Indianapolis? Yes and no. I think the moderate has already been shifted pretty far south, so it has already moved closer to Indianapolis. I think it could shift a little bit further south, closer to Indianapolis, but I don't think it will go into Indianapolis. So both yes and no. I think it will shift more towards Indianapolis, but not include Indianapolis. March 31st, I'm assuming 2023 was a 15% in Washington. Tornado was a 45%. So if tomorrow is a 30%, that'll be your first ever 30% tornado risk. Um, I don't think it would be for you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think if I were to put a high risk down, I would put it almost exactly where StormNet has it. I would put it pretty much right in here. You would definitely, you're gonna, in my opinion, I think you're gonna stay in the moderate. I got a tornado warning here for Vernon, Florida right now. Make sure you seek shelter. That just came in. That's an active tornado warning for a tornado attempting to drop here in western Florida. Panhandle of Florida. Yep, random tornado warning in Florida. That's just what Florida does sometimes. If you live in Florida, you know that. So, brief weak spin up tornado. Definitely possible here, too. You can see this is a full-on supercell. It is a full-on supercell. This ain't a tiny little guy. It's a full-on embedded supercell in here. Classic supercell in a tornado trying to drop right in there. I think those will eventually become tropical storm warnings for Louisiana mainly. It all comes down to if it goes in the water. If this potential tropical cyclone stays over land, probably not. But if it starts looking like it is going to stay over water, then yeah. All right, y'all. Give me just a very brief break. I will be back in like 1 minute. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Had to go grab another bottle of water. I'm out. I didn't think I need 3 bottles of water, but I guess when you're sick, you drink more water. Let's go back to here again. I actually want to go check that. Okay, so yeah, that rotation died out. Really no notable rotation there anymore around the Vernon area. So still stay in your safe spot, but that area of rotation is already dissipated. But it definitely warranted the tornado warning. That, in my opinion, looked like a good area of rotation for a good solid five or so minutes. Easily could have produced a brief spin up. And then again, we'll have to watch these storms here coming off of the lake going into Michigan and northern Indiana for a tour threat over the next probably 3 hours or so. Ooh. Owner of StormNet just put out the 50 ensemble package for Wednesday. Golly. One of them's got a high risk into almost Michigan. But I mean, every single one, maybe except for, I'm pretty sure it's hard to really tell, but I think every single one of the 50 members has a high risk. Maybe actually, no, I do see one that's definitely not a high risk. So pretty much, according to StormNet, a guarantee at a high risk tomorrow. Go to StormNet on Twitter to see the forecast I was looking at. Let's see. This has been one of the strongest tornado seasons I've ever tracked. Where have you been the last 3 years? Sleeping? What'd you do? Sleep through 2023, 2024, and 2025? Wake up. Golly. Shoot. Strangest, not strongest. Uh, I mean, it's been exactly what I was expecting. It really has. It's been a less active Southern Plains season. June has been very active, which was expected, albeit definitely not in the location I was thinking, the exact location I was thinking. I was thinking more of the high plains. This is more of a Midwest June. But it definitely was an area we had highlighted in our tornado forecast 4 months ago. And we forecasted May to be very well below average. So really everything that we forecasted happened. Even April wasn't that crazy. Oh yeah, you only had a day with like 120 tornadoes and it's nothing. April wasn't that crazy. You only had a major tornado outbreak stuck right in the middle of April. That literally made April average. That one day. We had one event. All it takes is one event, man. All it takes is one event. One event is what it takes. It takes 1 to 2 events in April, and most of the others are mesoscale days, and that is how you get an average April. Yeah, March was crazy. March was definitely very active. March was probably above average. April was probably near average. May was well below average, and then June, I'd have to imagine, is going to be um, probably above average. I don't think June will be well above average, but I think June will be above average because you do typically see about 200 tornadoes in June. So I think June will be above average, but not well above average. Now, if tomorrow produces 100 tornadoes, then yeah, that's going to shoot it above average, well above average. My mod dome, I think, is broken. Can you unmod me and mod me again? Unplug it, plug it back in? No. Nope. It will hold tomorrow. Trust. Watch. You'll see. Yeah, there's a tornado warning in Florida, but it's not in association with our severe weather event in the Midwest, and area rotation is a lot weaker now. Let's see. I'm going to go back to here real quick. What does this have? I'm going to go see CSU Severe real quick. CSU can't make up its mind. It's doing the exact same thing. Yesterday, it went moderate in the morning and then downgraded to enhanced. And today, it went moderate in the morning and it's almost downgraded to enhanced. CSU is garbage, man. I don't even know why I bother with that thing. Not a good thing to use, honestly. So, yeah, I'm going to pull up the outlook for tomorrow once more. Just in case you haven't seen it, there's the official SPC outlook for tomorrow. If you're in the orange and the red, that's where the highest risks are. Orange is a level 3 out of 5. And red is a level 4 out of 5 for severe weather. So big time severe weather outbreak and likely tornado outbreak on tap for tomorrow. Is this one of the most concerning environments you've seen in Indianapolis in a while? I will say the most definitely. However, I don't think storms are going to fire in that environment. I believe that will be part of the warm front. So I believe that will be as the warm front is lifting northward. That's when you'll be in the most concerning environment I've probably almost borderline ever seen in Indianapolis. However, that environment is actually going to go a little bit more north than that. So the most concerning environment may begin in Indianapolis, but then it will probably shift northward and end closer to northwestern Indiana and just north of Indianapolis. If we go ahead and show you on the HRRR 18Z supercell composite for tomorrow, you could see that very concerning environment begins very close to or over Indianapolis, and then it shifts just to the north of Indianapolis. So even though it will be the most favorable environment I've seen in probably a very long time, if not ever, for Indianapolis in the last few years, I don't think it will fire. It's just going to be the environment pushing northward, getting more favorable for when storms eventually do fire closer to 6 p.m. Eastern in this area here. And you can see that's just really right where I circled is almost fully inside of that moderate risk area, aside from the far southeast and far southwest side. What event that you've seen has a more favorable environment than tomorrow? March 14th, 2025, March 15th, 2025. Let's see, that dry line in western Oklahoma that didn't end up firing earlier this year. Let's see, what else? Probably 2021, that April event in 2021 with the 45 SIG. December 15th, 2021, December 10th, 2021. March 31st, 2023. What else do we got? Probably 2 or 3 events in 2024 that I can't recall. I believe there was May 6th, was it 2024? A lot of events. It's definitely not the best it's definitely not the most favorable event I've ever seen. But it's up there with, I mean, all those events I just mentioned are, most of them are very big, moderate to high risk caliber events. So it's right with that. It's in that same category of big time tornado outbreaks to major tornado outbreaks. Like I said, I literally included it in the same category of March 14th and March 15th, which are moderate and high risk caliber days. Hurricane Helene. No, I think we're talking more about tornadoes. I will say, Hurricane Milton, though, was by far the most impressive hurricane environment I've seen in my whole life. I've never seen something like that before. That was literally like a moderate risk worthy event with a freaking hurricane. That's wild. No, I'm not currently recruiting mods. We have plenty of mods at the moment. Although Caleb's position might be open for grabs pretty soon. What? Did I say that out loud? Becoming more confident on a Sig 3 or high? I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm more confident in a high risk, but for a Sig 3, I have no idea with that. No clue. Because I don't know when they issue a Sig 3. It's so hard to tell. I don't know about the SBC's Sig 3 stuff. Because we've had probably 2 environments this year that honestly were Sig 3 caliber, but didn't get upgraded to such. And June 11th, by the way, was one of those. Now that I think of June 11th, actually, probably 3 events. Oh, let's go see Catman's Outlook. His 60 Sig 3 tour. Definitely an interesting choice. I like how nobody knows what to do with the hail risk. Catman threw it down into Kansas. I threw it into Illinois and Missouri and Iowa. And I've seen some people throw it into Ohio. So it's like nobody knows what to do with the hail risk. It's just there. But yeah, I think the 45 sig 1 win definitely is good. Although I think it's on the larger side of things, I think it is good. And I think that's 30% sig 2 high risk that you have. I don't disagree with that. It's not bad. I think it might go a little bit far to the west southwest and maybe a tiny bit too far to the northeast, but generally good. I don't know if it will be that big of a high risk. Your high risk is bigger than their current moderate, so think of it that way. But yeah, pretty good. I agree with it. If there were to be a high risk, although it might be a little bit bigger. Or yours might be a little bit bigger. Let's see. What's that stuff being issued? Georgia, Florida? Oh yeah, that's back with our tour warning. No longer tour warned though. But that's back with that stuff. So watch these storms for the potential of a brief tornado or two. Roughly in that vicinity. I need to draw better. Roughly in here. With a potential of a tornado or two over the next 3 hours up till about 7, 8 p.m. Eastern. About the next 3 or so hours. Where do you think the high risk will be? So what I'd do is I'd expand the moderate in every direction. If I were to add a high risk, I would expand the moderate slightly. In probably all directions. Just like that. I'd make the whole risk fatter. All directions, expand the moderate. And then I would probably place a high risk right in here. Right in there. That's what I'd do. I'd keep the high risk, like I said, it'd be away from Indianapolis. Roughly in that vicinity. Expand the moderate in all directions and flop a pink Sharpie in the middle. Did a tropical storm warning just get put out? I can't tell. I thought I got a notification for it, but it disappeared. Let's see. Lake Charles. I don't think it did. Not seeing it right now. But what I could do is go to IEMBot. It ain't out on my end, but I think it is. I think it is out. Okay, yeah, it is. Yep, it is. This is all over the place on weather-wise. I don't know why. I have to fix that. But there's a tropical storm warning in this area now. Southern, southwest coastline of Louisiana. Alrighty. We're gonna go ahead and head off. I'll be back here probably tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow. I'll see what time. A big day ahead for severe weather tomorrow. So if you want to tune into that live stream and know when I go live, make sure you hit that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all, so you know when I go live tomorrow. And hit that like button on your way out. Share the stream and the channel with your family, friends, social media, especially if you know anybody inside the main risk area for tomorrow. Make sure you guys get your tornado preparedness plan ready tonight. If you don't already have it prepared, it could be something as simple as making sure you got some cash on hand, making sure you have vehicles are full of fuel, making sure you have extra water and food supplies in your safe spot, whether that be in your bathroom or in a closet in the interior room in the lowest floor possible of your home or in your storm shelter. Make sure you just stock up on that extra stuff and go over the plan with your family and anyone else who may live in your house. And also take note of your pets as well. Make sure you bring your pets indoors tomorrow if you can, as well as if you get under a tornado warning or severe warning, make sure you bring them with you with your into your safe spot or into that most interior room of your home. But all right, that is gonna do it. I greatly appreciate y'all for tuning in. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow in the next live stream. Subscribe on your way out, like the video, or rather in this case live stream on your way out, and also again share the channel with your family, friends, social media. I appreciate the support in today's live stream. And if you want more content from me in the very near term, you could join the Discord server. I believe third link in the description, where I will be chatting in there in the Discord server and maybe even doing a VC tonight. Stay safe, watch the severe weather. See you in the next one. Goodbye. Stay safe, watch the severe weather, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's live stream, whenever that may be. Thank you, mods, for modding chat, and everyone for being here, and for helping me reach over 5,000 people today with the word of severe weather. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.